Good morning. I am Joe Kovacic, and I work in the DISA Emerging Technology Directorate. We would like to welcome you to today's technical exchange meeting. Edge Technologies will be presenting its Edge Core Connected Intelligence Platform in today's session. Need to go over some administrative items before we get started. First, please mute your DoD 365 Microsoft Teams sessions. Second, this session is being recorded to allow future scrutiny of presented capability by members of DISA and the DoD community. Third, this is a public forum, so no proprietary or sensitive information should be shared in this session. Fourth, we encourage questions during the session, so please use the raise hand function in the Teams menu to alert the presenters when you have a question. You can also enter your questions in the chat area anytime during the presentation. Questions will be addressed in the order they are received. I have to provide the following full disclosure. This technical exchange meeting does not infer any intention by DISA or the DoD to enter into an acquisition, contract, purchase, or endorsement of the presented capability. This session is purely for informational purposes only. We do not control how session participants will proceed with the conveyed content. Access to the technical exchange session video, slide deck, and other artifacts will be made available through a National Security Innovation Network website, whose link is provided in the TEM session invitations that each of you received. With that said, let us commence with the presentation. So over to you, Edge Technologies.
Thank you, Joe. So first, I'd like to thank you for inviting us to the Technology Exchange meeting to present the capabilities of our flagship product, EdgeCore. I'm Jack Jarman, the CRO. I'll be presenting the solution overview. I have about 600 slides that I want to go through, so it'll be a lot of slides. Just kidding. I want to very quickly go through the slides. Joining me also is Scott Leslie. Scott is our CTO. He will be providing the live product demonstration. And we also have Mike Friedel, our Director of Federal Operations. As Joe mentioned, we would like to keep the session interactive, so please use the raise hand function or the chat feature to ask questions. Mike will be monitoring the chat and will inject questions throughout the presentation and demo. If we can't address your questions in real time, we will try to address them at the end of the presentation. Edge Technologies is a software publisher focused on developing solutions that allow our customers achieve the impossible. The right data to the right people at the right time on the right device. In essence, our integration and visualization platform, EdgeCore, allows users to deploy a true single pane of glass. Unlike other solutions that profess to offer a single pane of glass solution, EdgeCore is secure and is configured by users to meet the unique requirements of the viewer, not what we, the vendor, feel users should see. This is critical to meet DISA's imperative to achieve the velocity of action needed to win. Every mission is unique, and the data needed for those missions is ever-changing. DISA needs a platform that can be rapidly configured to address the mission needs of the warfighter. But EdgeCore doesn't stop there. The biggest issue with any single pane of glass solution or data analytics solution is that upon gaining valuable insight, the viewer needs to leave the single pane of glass to take action. EdgeCore goes beyond a single pane of glass to provide a single pane of control. Users can securely write back to authoritative systems and orchestrate complex automation sequences and workflows with DISA's existing ATO solutions. In essence, EdgeCore is not a rip and replace solution. It will leverage all of the capabilities that you have currently in the environment. EdgeCore achieves these capabilities by combining a suite of capabilities found in no other solution. Single sign-on, regardless of security solution, from CAT-card to Active Directory, LDAP, or Okta, as well as a combination of all of them, are fully supported. We have no persistent new data storage requirement. This is possibly one of EdgeCore's most unique capabilities. Leveraging existing authoritative data stores in your ATO solutions, EdgeCore's integration occurs securely in memory, server-side. EdgeCore also goes beyond secure API integration to also integrate data accessed directly through the UIs of the ATO solutions. The result, real-time data integration and mission-specific applications in the velocity of action needed to win. With EdgeCore applications, there is no need for swivel head operations. Users from flag officers down to theater operators log in once to multiple ATO systems, see what they need to see, make decisions, and take action. If they want to drill into any one of the systems for additional information, no problem, they can do so. If a new data source or application needs to be folded into the view, it can be done in hours and be production ready in days. The applications created with EdgeCore often require little or no ATO consideration because they don't store data and federate the existing access credentials of the users. In essence, EdgeCore maximizes the value of all DISA's existing IT investments. EdgeCore's proven technology, operating at a technical readiness level of 9, having been ATO'd in NIPRNet, CIPRNet, DREN, and JWICS. EdgeCore has a long history of use within the warfighting community, as well as some of the largest enterprises in the world. With extensive IT command and control, also known as C2, and cyber quals, EdgeCore is a perfect fit for DISA's lines of effort, or LOEs. EdgeCore was used by Lockheed Martin and later GDIT for 14 years as the front end to the PENREN contract. NATO has exercised the capabilities of EdgeCore on multiple cyber exercises. The Navy uses Edge technologies for C2 in the PMW 790 stack program, but EdgeCore's capabilities go beyond the core LOEs of DISA. Army PEO Soldier has used our solution to provide integrated, secure, real-time budget and program management dashboards. Northwind Group, a leading provider of construction, environmental, and IT cyber solutions to the federal government, has standardized on EdgeCore to provide real-time visibility into the performance of all aspects of their business. The City of New York leverages EdgeCore to provide integrated views into the performance of their 411 and 911 systems. On the public side, large organizations like ADP, JP Morgan Chase, Accenture, and Visa have all leveraged EdgeCore to address their single point of control needs. So in summary, EdgeCore can bring data together from any accessible system via API or directly through the user interfaces of secure applications. EdgeCore's single point of control apps can expose portions of multiple applications in one secure view, all in complete adherence to the security requirements of each individual application.
Hey, Jack.
Yes.
Just before you continue, we do have a question, and the question is can your platform integrate with legacy systems, which are unfortunately throughout the federal government?
In fact, we integrate with a lot of legacy systems, some of which that are not even API enabled. So we can tie into all of those systems regardless of where they're located, as long as they're accessible via the network, be it NIPR, CIPR, JWICS, or a public network. That data can be accessed. Thanks, Mike. Key focus areas throughout all 5 DISA LOEs include improving efficiency and effectiveness, reducing time to deliver solutions, cutting costs, standardizing services, and implementing capabilities both internally and for its mission partners. EdgeCore is uniquely capable of facilitating these focus areas. EdgeCore can help DISA enable warfighters to make mission-based real-time decisions at the tactical edge, as well as enhance its national leadership command capability. EdgeCore is a perfect partner to help DISA achieve the department's Joint All-Domain Command and Control, also known as JADC vision. We were recently honored to be awarded a contract to support the Air Force's JADC mission through their Advanced Battle Management System. As we look at the key principles of JADC2, sense, make sense, and act, Edge provides a unique approach to addressing these principles. With sense, we look to break down that key principle into 2 components, collect and integrate. There are no shortages of tools to collect data. We let them do what they do best, collect data, and then provide mission-specific integrations of the data from all of those different sources. The culmination of make sense is a true single pane of glass. Through real-time data correlation and cross-domain integration capabilities, EdgeCore makes short work of creating mission-focused single panes of glass. Finally, EdgeCore truly excels when it comes to taking action. Once the situation is understood, operators need a way to very quickly take action in existing systems. that action is almost always going to require mission-specific components. Since EdgeCore does not need to store any data and can rapidly be configured to converge interfaces, it is the perfect platform to develop apps at the velocity of action needed to win. When Scott walks through a live demo of our capabilities in a few minutes, he will focus on our JADC2 capabilities. Since we can't show any secure information, we will show representative capabilities using a collection of common IT applications. EdgeCore can be a next generation technology to ready DISA to address the future fight. It has past performance quals in DevSecOps and is routinely used to orchestrate automation capabilities like robot process automation and complex workflow tools. EdgeCore can be containerized and run in DISA's cloud environment or on-prem or in a combination of both. As DISA identifies new emerging technologies, they can easily be folded into existing EdgeCore apps, culminating in extremely fast integrations. As discussed earlier, EdgeCore is focused on leveraging any and all of the tools that our customers have in production. To that end, leveraging existing and future big data solutions is no problem. But as DISA always strives on owning data to control the high ground, it's important to note that it's not always possible to achieve the timely sharing of data with other agencies and mission partners. And if you are successful in getting their data, the new data sets may introduce security concerns that require a new time-consuming ATO process for them to be used. EdgeCore can provide the best of both worlds: immediate real-time access to mission-critical partner data, prototyping and deployment of those mission-critical apps, and the ability to access and run those applications against DISA data sources once the agency has stored the data in their big data solutions. Providing a solid zero trust architecture, in DISA's case Thunderdome, while maintaining a good user experience is no easy task. EdgeCore can help by streamlining the login process to multiple applications and allow DISA to build truly integrated user experiences. Additionally, as DISA creates a great network to provide access to secure resources from any location, EdgeCore can be a key component to rolling out these capabilities ahead of schedule. Actively recruiting and attracting and retaining high caliber candidates is a major challenge for any organization. On the plus side for DISA is its overall mission to support our warfighters and access to cutting edge technologies and challenges. On the downside, stringent security and repetitive tasks and laborious training cycles are often cited as reasons why employees seek new employment in any organization. EdgeCore has been leveraged by many of our customers to alleviate these downsides. A comprehensive single point of control dramatically reduces security risks, repetitive tasks, and simplifies training. Finally, employee upskilling is facilitated by codifying best practices and automation of complex workflows. Employees focus more on the mission and less on the process, resulting in higher employee satisfaction. Okay, it's over to you, Scott. And I'd also, as Scott's transitioning to the demo, I'd like to mention that we are planning to cover all of our core content by noon, but we are also available to go long if anyone has additional questions or wants to dive deep into any one of the capabilities. Over to you, Scott.
All right, thanks very much, Jack. And I should be showing now the login screen. Please stop me if you cannot see that. I'm just going to go ahead and log into this. Now, this again is representative data. This is not live data that's being pulled from any specific mission, but it is representative. We do have access to different data sets, which have allowed us to create a fully functioning demo system based on real tools. Now, when I mentioned real tools, we are currently connected, my remote connection over to a cloud host. And then from there are a variety of tools that are going to come into play here. Now, the very first thing we can see here is that we're pulling information from a couple different data sources just to provide this particular view that I've launched off of. This is really getting things and allowing things to sense different things and getting into a little bit of the make sense. The first aspect there's icons on the screen that are showing the sense portion, which is, are there any tickets? Are there any problems? Are there any maintenance windows, change orders? Are there any emergencies? For core services on the right-hand side, Are there core services that are working and functioning that are providing value? All of that is the sense aspect. Now, all of that's data driven. And when Jack was speaking earlier about the ability to really take action, one of the things that we want to highlight is that as part of the sense action, we're connecting to a lot of different tools. On this screen, I've actually connected to 3 different tools, their actual UI. Now, this is not something where we are reaching out, collecting data, putting it on a screen using our visualizations. I'm actually showing the real workspace of the underlying tools. So I have the ability here, just as I'm showing, to cross into 3 different identity providers where there might be Okta in the field, there may be Active Directory somewhere, but I can translate the single username that I typed in once already that everybody saw, and I'm instantly logged into here the UI for ServiceNow for tickets and incidents, the UI for Splunk for BI and reporting, and the UI for SolarWinds Orion Network Performance Manager, so I can actually see where different things are being detected. Now, in a business environment, this might be HR tools, this might be mission tools, this might be Microsoft project, something of that nature. It may be retention. It may be virus tools or something of that nature for cybersecurity. The key being, we can bring that tool into the workspace. You don't have to leave the workspace to be in that tool. And just as an example, if I took, let me see this, the network performance manager example, I can bring that up full screen and I'm fully in that tool. Whatever commands, whatever abilities I had from that tool are there. Jack mentioned earlier that this is not a rip and replace option. This is a great example of that. The sense aspect, bringing information into the realm where you can actually see it. Sometimes that means you need to get into the tool. Sometimes that there's a specific tool for a specific job, and you want to be able to go into that specific tool and that specific job and see how things are going. Now, adding a little bit of context, let's say, it might be that I need to add geography. It might need that I need to add environmental aspects. It may be that I want to see things in a large format. Let me just expand this out, a tabular view. So if I'm the guy that wants to see everything, then I can see everything. But if I just want to see how that's trending, then I also have that option. Being able to bring in other aspects. Let me just pick the Northeast region today. Here I can see we're bringing in not just points that are dynamically allocated in real time based on whatever criteria we want, including mobile assets, of course, including single-use mobile assets. We can also bring in things like weather feeds. Now we can bring in temperature sensors. We can bring in all sorts of different external feeds. We've got a variety of ways that we can do that. This is all, again, part of the sense aspect. This is part of being able to understand that there are tools in an environment and those tools do their job. And as those tools do their job, I don't want to lose access to those tools. I want to be able to bring in whatever those tools are giving me, whether it's a simple Power BI chart or Tableau, something of that nature. I don't lose that. I can get directly to it, all the way to the heavier things like running complex reports over time. Now, as we look at how that may fit into something, it might be that looking at a particular asset, we need to understand what's going on across the board. Again, perhaps we need to understand who it is we're dealing with, a little bit of context around them. Why do they matter? Why do I care who they are? What's some of their activity, whether that be something in a forward-looking base or an active theater or an emergency situation, or just what type of contact we've had with them in the case of a friendly in an environment. But we can also, again, look at where are they at, what are different links within the environment based on all the context that I have drawn up, what are all the different things I might need to click to bring in, again, more sense, including right in the middle of the screen, putting an actual tool there. Again, that's the ServiceNow UI right in the middle of the screen. So this is a combination of bringing in different data points, correlating them, making sense of them, putting them on the screen, but not losing that critical ability to get to the third pillar, that act pillar, the ability to do something about it. Now, as we start to go through, sorry, Jack, go ahead.
Yeah, just inject here. What's also important to note is, as you're looking at this, you're seeing an example that has ServiceNow. There might be people that have Remedy, they might have Jira, they might have all three for different things. The ability to bring in whatever information there is, as you look at a different theater and you want to acquire weather data, you don't necessarily need to have a global weather system. There might be some local systems that are better than a global system. Being able to build these single panes of glass and single points of control with key functions, and then injecting whatever tool is available to provide that information. Again, rather than having to pull all of that information out of those systems and then build one large data set that can address anything, you can inject the application that makes the most sense as it comes about. And Scott, there's a question which I think is definitely a good one that I know you were going to get into, but if you could talk a little bit about how we manage user identity credentials and access to multiple tools via our unique single sign-on capabilities.
Absolutely, and I do see that question. So first off, it's security by design. We start off with making sure that everything is security coming out of the top secret space from the dim recesses of our origins those many weeks ago. We look at everything being from a secure perspective. So that is the reason that SSO exists. That is the reason that we can interact with multiple identity providers. And all of those things, managing the credentials specifically, those are things that are secure and encrypted at every point, right? There's not something where we let someone type in their password and we capture that password. No, it's passed directly on. Now, in cases where we're doing data pulls, in cases where we're hitting APIs, databases, tables, the ability to pull in things of that nature. At some cases, we may be using role accounts that have been identified by the owners of those tools so that we can pull in a single query and then allow the individual queries to run against it. So we're being very gentle with APIs, right? But that ability to cross two different IDPs is really critical. It is a big part of our secret sauce, so to speak, specifically with the single sign-on. Let me see. We're managing that again securely. Everything is dynamically allocated, by the way. So if I, as an admin of a system, had full unfettered access and I wanted to track a login across the board, it would be extremely difficult even for me, because every handle and every token is both encrypted but also dynamically allocated. There's not a trail that I could follow and decrypt, because there's no telling exactly where it would go in a round robin secure environment. Looking at another question, hopefully that answered. And for the guest that answered that, please, if you'd like more information at some point, we're happy to go into more details. Some of the different identity providers that we've used, again, are things like, of course, Active Directory, LDAP, Kerberos, OAuth2, NTLM. So that includes Windows-based authentication. If someone opens up their Windows laptop and they go in through their CAT card using two-factor or multi-factor, they have that ability, including integrations with biometrics in the past. Whatever case, and in some cases, you saw me earlier, you saw me navigate, and I was able to show the seamless movement with one username that did translations to those other IDPs to log me into ServiceNow, Splunk, and SolarWinds, just as examples. But that does not have to be seamless. There have been many cases where we did not activate the single sign-on, where we brought the tool into the workspace, but for whatever reason, be it security or for crossing domain or import-export controls, we sometimes require someone to re-authenticate. So that is an option. Adding to that question, can we get into privilege access management? We can. We do get into role-based access control. We do get into we have a lot of features. So that's all configuration, not development. That's the key aspect, is that as I look at, and I can just jump into this briefly, as I look into the user management, and this is a very stripped down version here, if I look at what type of access a given person has, if I look at what type of credentials they have access to, you can give someone, for example, full access and full credentials to a development system or a low side system, and very limited credentials to a production or a high side. Now, even the ability to turn them into a dead user effectively, where it's almost like walking up to a kiosk in a mall where they have very limited interactivity whatsoever. all of those things, we can augment that with roles. And this is where we can get very, very granular to say that someone has the role of a given task, and that means they have this set of privileges that allow them to execute these commands and access these things. So that, again, we do have that. It is based on configuration, not new development. And then going to another question that was asked earlier, how is the platform deployed? It can be deployed either on-prem or in cloud. That's public, private, or a combination. You can actually have a small instance in an isolated location that is independent, that then can, as needed, connect back to home, so to speak, to share information, to federate secure information, including encrypted, including force encrypted or old style ROT13 type encryption even. And the way I can say that we've really tested that to a very hard degree of stress is in the case of a submersible asset where that device or that location, that host, is going out of communication under the water, let us say, for extended weeks at a time. The system can continue to operate in an independent function. And when it pops up for air, quite literally, it has the ability, if needed, to go back to ship-to-shore operations, to federate back to HQ, so to speak. I'm speaking somewhat vaguely, but I think everyone will understand what I'm saying. I speak about ship-to-shore operations and submersibles. So cutting short that answer, sorry, long answer, it can be in your cloud. It can be in a public cloud. We have even done things with different governments where you have to be in a particular region to access a particular zone in a cloud. So if you are out of region, you cannot even get to the login prompt if it's in cloud. But private clouds, on-prem, Docker container, VMware, all that good stuff are options for hosting.
Scott, if you could, along these lines, I think it would be important to talk about how we can, by federating people's security privileges, you can build an application and multiple people can have access, but if they don't have underlying access to the information in those authoritative systems, they don't see that data.
Absolutely, that's the case. So everything that comes in, every small bit of data, every login screen, everything has handles on it. And all of those handles are lined up, they are mapped to the different permission structures. So as someone comes in, whether they are a full admin, I'm logged in here as a full admin, so I can see everything in this particular system. They may be what we call a domain admin. So they are they have segmented administration capabilities. They can do some super user things, but not all, including destroying data sources, for example. So you can lock down your data sources. You can also have individual, again, users, groups, roles. As someone logs in, they may not only get different screens, it may look completely different. For example, I'm using kind of a light theme here. They may log in and have a light blue theme. It may be someone in an Air Force base, for example, who comes in. There's a nice light blue theme. We've got the U.S. Air Force logo at the top. They've got the operating group that they're part of, whatever type of division they may have. And they may see 2 pages and only 2 pages. They may be in a complete lockdown read-only experience where they're receiving information. Information is being disseminated to them, but in a very secure, locked experience, as opposed to someone, as I'm logged in here, with the ability to go in and actually take action. That being very key, that third pillar again. If this is just a report, there's a certain limitation of value there. That becomes a single pane of glass. But by being a single point of control, by being able to interact with things, in this example, just changing a simple status, this is now layered value. And I'm going to go in and edit this page. And Jack, please feel free to jump in at any time. But I'm going to jump into the admin side of this particular page so that I can show that this simple tabular view that I was looking at, kind of boring, the first column is the first hint that there's some power happening here. And as I show the admin view, this is where that power is revealed. So I have color coded for administrators this lovely combined table. As you look, where is the information coming from? I'm actually connecting to 4 different systems, in some cases competing systems, flattening out the attributes so they fit nicely into my table so that anyone can use them. And as I send commands back, like I was changing a status a moment ago, it flows back down that diagram to the source of data and makes a change. This is that classic, I want all the value of the tool, and I don't ever want to see the tool. This is those first options here where I can change the status. That's I have the value of the tool. I have 4 different tools combined into one view, correlated. I can take action from there, or I can say, you know what, I do want to be in that tool. I love that tool. That's the tool that I live and breathe in. I want complete access to that tool so I can do all the cool things. And here I've drilled down into ServiceNow. This is the actual ServiceNow UI. I'm really logged into it, and I can do whatever I would from there just by hitting the back button. I love that feature. I can go right back to where I was. Now, this is that aspect of going from sense to make sense to act, all in one swoop, right? But looking at that, looking at how do I really add things to that, the page that I started off with is, what does this mean to the mission? What does this mean to the program? Are there other mitigating factors that I need to bring in? Are there other things that I need to understand? And as I go in, and I'm going to go into an operations type perspective here, as I go in and look at, supposing I have identified a number of assets, CIs, that I want to know everything about. Here in my system, I've got control of some assets. So these are network devices, server devices, things of that nature. These could just as easily be, again, humans, machines, vehicles, whatever the case. The assets don't matter in that case. But I can see the overall status. And as I mouse over here in the top left hand, I'm already sensing and making sense. I can see there is a watch list. This particular asset is on the watch list. There are incidents, there are alerts, and the overall status is there's something wrong with this asset. Now, contextually, I can see all my raw incidents and all my raw alerts.
Scott, I just want to interject. I'm sorry. That's a very powerful feature. This is something that was configured for this view. This isn't what we presuppose you need to see. This is a short exercise in saying this is what's critical for the mission operator to see for the mission at hand. Very, very quickly and easily configured. So it really provides you with the ability to, when someone says, you know what, we need to see if an operator is active on Twitter at a certain predefined level. You can show that. You can bring that in from any of your tools. So it's a very, very powerful capability. And I just wanted to highlight that this isn't something that we presuppose you need to see. This is what the operators wanted to see, and it's very easy to set that up for any one of these apps that you build within the EdgeCore platform.
That's actually a great point. I mean, this particular view, Jack, this particular one was designed by a very popular search engine company, although they deny they're a search engine company. I think that's what we all know them by. But they're actually the ones that designed the layout of this particular view using our tool sometime back. Now, clicking on that is where I really get into making real sense out of something. So this particular asset that I've chosen, again, is a network device. The very first panel here on the top left is tell me everything I need to know basically about this asset. Now, again, that could be location. It could be all sorts of cool stuff. In this case, it's a network device. So I can see what are different active alerts going on with it, what are different active incidents, including change orders, maintenance windows, whatever may be happening. Below that, this is where the flexibility, as you were speaking about, Jack, comes into play. I actually have opened up 2 different tools, a reporting tool and a network topology tool. And I'm in those tools. Again, I'm really in those tools. As I expand this particular network topology tool, for example, the full view opens up and I have the ability to zoom in. I have the ability to take this out of management. I have the ability to do all sorts of stuff as a network administrator would do to it in real time. By putting that back down, now if this was, let me track a human, let me track a person in a metropolitan downtown environment by watching as they move things. Go ahead.
Yeah, I can interject here. This speaks very much to LOE5 and looking at empowering the user and upskilling people. Think about when new people come in and all the processes and procedures they need to learn. This is a system now where basically the operator, when they go into this one situation, they're already logged into the tools and they are brought to the pieces of the tool that they need to see to accomplish the task at hand. They don't need to log into the tool and know how to navigate to the appropriate screen to see that information. You can codify that process for people to allow them to very, very quickly come up to speed on the mission rather than focusing on the process.
Very good point. And that also spoke to your upskilling earlier about that. So, looking at different things, and I am keeping my eye on the chat as best I can. So I do see that there was a question earlier about privilege access management, and I see that. Thanks, Joseph, very much for posting up the deck again. As we look at these things, focusing on the mission at hand for the individual operator, let us say it generically, that speaks very much to what Jack was just saying. Because if I'm looking at a slightly different scenario, maybe I need to know where all of my human assets are. And I need to understand, are they safe? Are they checked in? Have they completed whatever they need to complete? Are they on task? Are they off task? And as I go in to find out, let me find out more about them. I can see in real time again. These are all based on different in theater abilities, capabilities, things of that nature for a fully plugged in resource. This ability to do that and see where people are at and understand what's going on, taking that to another level of makes sense. If we know that there are certain situations happening, we can post warnings, we can post messages to any users for context as we want to understand where a particular situation is happening, and we need to really get into the details on that and who are the people that are affected by that and what do we know about their current status. Are they safe? Are they reporting in? Do they have communication? Everything is good with where they are. Now, here I'm showing a tornado situation in Oklahoma, but I'm showing a timeline here that could just as easily be, again, in a forward operating base where we need to make sure that the people there have communication, that they're fully plugged in, that there is bidirectional communication with them, and the commands can be given to them, which they can follow, be it verbal or otherwise. All of that ability and all of that context comes in, and we have the ability to make sense of it. We have the ability to give that context so that people can do things. Now, that could look a variety of different ways, and we have the ability to slice that, and we have the ability to really go in and get very granular with what that means, including, again, adding environmental things. I always like to show this, the ability to show a variety of external data feeds, including satellite imagery. Now that can be pulled. We do have the ability to pull in cameras. We do have the ability to pull in, again, single-use cameras that operate once and then are no longer functional. We have the ability to bring in, and no surprise on this map, it's hot in the world right now. This is the heat index across the world. No surprise there that it is in fact hot these days to anyone. But all of these things, all of this context, if this is just a simple dot on a map, that's not good enough. I need to, at a glance, be able to see whatever that little dot says. Am I functional? And if I am not functional, let me, at a glance, without having to click anything, let me see if I can determine very quickly what is the issue. The fewer clicks I have to do to get to make a decision, these are things that have to be done instantly. There's things that we need to know very quickly. But getting into the ability to say, let me find out at a glance every single thing in my environment. I need to know the real-time status of everything, how it affects, and if there is something wrong, that I need to be able to take action on it. This is key again, that third pillar, not just looking at a report, but being able to say, if I have a massive information, if we are feeding into and integrating with things like ML platforms and AI ops platforms, we have the ability to reach into those and pull out information to help people not only make a decision, but then actually implement the decision, right? So if I see where something bad is happening in this generic environment, and I can see I need to do something about this, let me hook over to my ML and AI platforms to tell me, what can I do? What are my best paths? And based on weighted things, give me a nice color-coded button that I can click on that then starts making it happen, not just dumping me into a process, but giving me guided remediation, telling me what I should do. Back to Jack's example, maybe it's someone who's relatively new. If I do this, this requires a ticket. Don't make me do it. Give me a button that does it. Give me a button that I can click on that takes all of the information that we're running with, who I am, what I'm doing, timestamp, location, everything. Use that to create the ticket that is needed automatically by touching APIs, tell it what I'm about to do, and then, hey, let's put a warning up if this is something that's going to start off with some automation steps and it's going to make changes and affect the way people do things, whether we're hooking into Ansible Tower or like RPA tools like Blue Prism or Automation Anywhere, UiPath, things of that nature, all the way to hooking into microwave communication channels to make sure that people are aware that something is happening. And we start this, let that workflow execute. Again, taking action, not just give me one button to click, but give me a button to click that tracks it, tracks the process, tracks the flow, takes the action, moves the people, moves the devices, moves the objects, does what I needed to do, and then tells me if what I was trying to do actually finished. Did I come back and get verification that it finished? And then update the ticket automatically. And as we would watch this, what you would see is that this view would eventually go away. It would blank out as this ticket, having been completed, will be reaped from the view because it no longer matters to us 15 minutes from now, or an hour from now, or 10 days from now, whatever type of field view you put onto that. All of those things is really coming back to that ability to not just bring something in. I can bring things in. I can bring all sorts of context. I can bring wonderful, wonderful context all the way down to getting to details of what is happening, down to financial, ethnicity, gender. We've done things in the commercial space which allow us to really get down into all different aspects of something. But in the government space and in the operations space, if I need to know about a person, what are they doing? Why should I care about them? And once I have that information about them, give me something to do. Let me find out if they have the proper clearance, if they have the proper access. Do they exist in every identity provider that we're integrating with? Whatever it is, all the way down to going back to a simple view of get something done, right? Just I need to take action, all the way down to doing things like pings and trace routes and looking things up in reports and doing SSH sessions down to devices. This could be command and control of, again, assets in the field, resources in the field. It is very much advanced command and control, not just give me a tool that goes to another tool that goes to another tool that goes to another tool, but give me something that I can actually use orchestration and I can bring it all together and I can simply get the result that I'm looking for, not the process. I don't care about the process. Get me to the result. Get it to me fast so that I can take action. I can make decisions. I can do what I need to do. And then I can actually implement it, not just say, we should do this, but actually click something that makes it happen, kicks it off, including, again, all of the process, all of the workflow, all of the tracking, the tracing, the permissions, the granularity of can I do this? Should I do this? I'm going to. Let me start executing. Now, I've jumped across a couple different things. Jack, I know I've hit a bunch of things. Was there anything that you were hoping that I would hit here that I can share or show that I did not, or maybe I didn't spend enough time on, Jack?
No, I think you're doing very good, Scott. One thing that I wanted to mention, and hopefully people are seeing it, is when you think about LOE2, driving force readiness through innovation, the EdgeCore platform is a way for you to start including some of these new innovative solutions without having to wait for those vendors to build key integrations to your core systems. So when you find an innovative capability from a vendor, oftentimes they're smaller, they don't have that integration capability. This can be a force multiplier to allow you to incorporate new capabilities and allow those partners to focus on their key capabilities rather than building integrations to systems. So I think, go ahead,
I
Scott.
think one thing I wanted to also hype on is just, the level of effort to maintain this. We start talking about deployment versus steady state. Once we get into steady state, everything about this tool was designed to be easy for steady state. Now, that comes down to the technologies used in the background. For those people who are technical or for posterity, let me just say it's HTML5 on the front, driven by cascading style sheets, CSS. That's very common technology, simple technology. There's no Flash, there is no Java objects unless we are passing through to an embedded single sign-on scenario where those other tools are using such things like Java applets. But everything can be accessed through any browser, including something like a tablet, a hardened tablet in the field. You can get into this and it will render. And if you turn your tablet sideways, it will re-render so that it fits the form factor. But all of the backend technology, from connections to looking at the information to parsing it. Here you can see there's SQL transform on the screen, JSON objects. We used SQL, JavaScript, JSON, and tabular views. All of those things, they're not proprietary to us. These are things that these days kids in high school already know these technologies. So being able to give this to an airman or someone who's new, they don't have to be a 5-year data scientist after 10 years in the field. They can do things like if I see that there is a view, as I'm showing here, that has an icon, a number, and a word, and someone says, that number in the middle, I'm not sure I understand what that means. Can you make it more clear? We have given the ability to say, let us change a color without having to be a programmer. Let us add a label by flipping a switch that says show label. Let us change the size of that text by typing in a number. And as I hit next and next, I've added the word count in red, really big, so that someone unfamiliar with this view can say, there are a count of 11 that are on hold. Now I have a better understanding. And if someone says, that's a little bit much hand holding, you can go back to that and uncheck it. And I hit next, and it's gone back to the way that I started. I did not have to be a data scientist. I didn't even have to be really hardcore technical to do that simple operation. So when we get into steady state operations and making simple changes, the day-to-day simple things, you do not have to have your very experienced E8s guys doing this. You can have airmen and basic guys coming in and doing these things, all the way down to, this is a mature platform deployed worldwide, both in government and commercial space, doing things like validations and safety checks, discard changes, putting things in, but bringing in all kinds of different information, looking at all the different data sources we can connect to. I'll reiterate from earlier in the presentation, we have hundreds of integrations. Those integrations, to speak to a question earlier in the chat again, can we connect to legacy tools? Yes. We have connected to mainframe tools, LPARs, things of that nature, where we had to get logical outputs. We have connected to log files. We have connected across SharePoint servers into project plans, pulled those out and been able to do comparisons against those so that people can understand, is a project tracking on time? Do I have the right people in the field? Do I have the right people with the right skills and the right operators to move heavy equipment from one location to another, including the ability to do that in a proper authorized manner with certifications and all of those little check marks that are required? All of those things. Yes, Jack.
What would I think would be helpful with the last few minutes that we have, and certainly any questions people have, we're happy to go long. But can you share with everyone some of the the work that we've seen our friends at Accenture do to help give access to some of their people within systems of their customers? I think that speaks a lot to the security capabilities to be able to work across Citrix environments and things of that nature, and really being able to interact in a single point of control within systems that are not controlled by Accenture proper.
Right. Well, and you just hit on it right there with Accenture and the word Citrix, right? In some environments, when you go in, the different tools that you're interacting with, you may not have full control over. They may be through partners, either through different agencies they're engaged, through different contract environments. It may be something that is simply not owned. And I just see a question pop up. I'll get to that in a moment. When we look at those things, it truly is a situation where the individual operator may not have permission, or they may need to cross systems. They may need to automate across systems. And as Jack mentioned, one of the most common technologies there is Citrix. The ability to look at Citrix and flow through Citrix, whether it be something like pulling up a simple methods and procedures document so that someone can understand what is the correct process to follow to resolve or take steps on something, what are the right escalation levels, whatever it might be, all the way to saying, I need to interact with that tool. Let me now automate that interaction so that I am pulling up a document, parsing the document, maybe doing some OCR extraction, getting those data tokens, manipulating them, then opening up that document and updating it with something, whether it be something so simple as an address or lat long, or something very complicated that needs to be parsed by someone higher up the chain of command with notes. But being able to do that in an automated fashion and really push that back, that is something that we have extensively done, and not just extensively, but uniquely done. I can say with confidence that everyone else in the technical software industry, they see Citrix and it is a brick wall. We have the only functioning bidirectional communication to Citrix in an automation environment, including all the big RPA players. Now, one of the questions was, when a tool changes the systems or the interface, we have the ability to put guardrails around things so that we can do automatic detection as much as possible. If we look at something like if we're doing an API call to a RESTful API, which is pulling up a table, we have the ability to do validation against those things, as we call it, putting guardrails up, so that if for example, a simple table header changes from all lower caps to all capitals, which some systems would detect as a completely different field or a completely different table, we have the ability to put guardrails up to validate that sort of thing, including data format. If we receive data back that is in an unexpected format, i.e. we're expecting a string of alphanumerics and we get back hex code or something really wacky, streaming video, or if we're just expecting something like a 2 or 3 letter abbreviation for a state or country code, or perhaps a prefix for a calling identifier, we get something back that's completely alien to that. It's symbols and emojis. We have the ability to put guardrails around those things. As we look at the SSO, those things are generally completely transparent, and we continue to work on making those things even more transparent so that it simply flows. We have had cases where people changed out an entire API, where they actually swapped out a product and just kept the name on the product, but it was actually 2 completely different products under the covers. In those cases, that's why we maintain, as a software vendor, we maintain different software alliances and agreements to allow us to have access to that. Just as in this demo, I've shown a variety of tools. Those are all through partnerships that we have, so that we can be forward looking and understand when newer versions are coming through. As an example, I can say with ease, I showed ServiceNow, and we are running like 7 different versions of that at any given time, because there are 7 different versions in the wild at any given time. And those changes can either be done by us and pushed out as a formal update. They can be done by one of our partners. We have a couple of different services partners out there servicing specific industries, including the federal industry, or the individual owning the system has full capability. It's the opposite of black box. They have full capability that if they know what the difference is, that they can go in to the full pipeline view. Let me just take a peek here. They can look at something and see what are the connections, what are going on, and what do I need to change in a particular edit or something, so that that is updated and proper. So if I look at that and I see that there's some query here, as I was saying earlier, let me make that bigger for the presentation. Simple SQL query. If one of these fields changes, a full admin has the ability to come in and update that within a matter of seconds. They don't have to go back to the vendor. They don't have to go back to me or Jack or someone. They can actually make that change and then back to business as usual.
And I'll also add here, what's very important is, as Scott mentioned, we maintain partnerships with key COTS product vendors, and we try to be ahead of all of their changes. So revisions make it, transparent to you. We handle those things as gracefully as possible. But there are also situations where we've had multiple Intel and DoD partners where they've developed their own integrations, totally unbeknownst to us, in the JWICS or SIPR environments. And you have that capability. You can build your own integrations, and we provide a lot of troubleshooting tools. If things change in those tools, there's logs, there's a lot of information that's provided. So when there is a change, if there is a change, we try and help identify that for you so that you can go ahead and change that. But hopefully that answered the question for you.
And indeed, we're of course available for more questions and follow-ups. We're happy to discuss this. I try to keep my comments within the time frame that we have permitted officially.
So Joe, we're coming right up against noon, and definitely want to be respectful of everyone's time. As we mentioned, Scott, if you can, for a brief moment, put the slide back up with our contact information. Feel free to contact any one of us. As Joe mentioned, this will be available for you to download for replay, and there also will be some artifacts around our capabilities shared with you. The presentation, as well as a capabilities document developed specifically for DISA. But Joe, I'll turn it over to you now for wrap up. But again, we're more than happy to stay longer if anyone has questions.
Hi, yes. If anybody in the audience has any further questions to ask at this time, please feel free to unmute and ask. Okay, appears that we have no further questions. I would like to thank Edge Technologies for taking part in this technical exchange. I'd like to thank everybody in the audience for taking time out of your day to take part in this session. If you have further interest in exploring this technology, this capability, the contact information was on the screen a second ago. It's also included in the slide deck that was posted in the chat area. Also, I'd like to put a plug in for the DISA Works Innovation Lab located in Columbia, Maryland. It's our little innovation lab that's off-site off of the Fort Meade Reservation. It is a lab that allows us to test out technologies and capabilities that are in industry without the hindrances of the security restrictions of Fort Meade. So again, if you are interested in testing, exploring, piloting any technologies that you've seen or that have been part of this technical exchange or past technical exchanges, please reach out to my organization, the DISA Emerging Technology Directorate, for further discussions on that. So again, thank you all for your time today. Wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Goodbye, everyone.